To the Shadow Box. I'm Carlise, your host, your grief and trauma coach, and your shadow work guide. Today with us we have Blaz Marolt. He is from Slovenia, and he is joining us today, and he's going to just walk us through his journey in life, in trauma, and all the things that he has kind of experienced that would take a lot of us by surprise. He is also you were in the military, is that correct?
Yes, I was. Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you for
Thank
your
you.
service.
Thank you.
So Blanche, go ahead and just fill us in and tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, I'm Blaz. I'm from Slovenia, so in Europe. And yeah, I actually graduated from the U.S. Military Academy at West Point in 2012. Then I actually went to the Slovenian military
Okay.
and served there for 5 years. Went into business in 2017. Now I am pretty much a freelancer. I own my own company and I do business operations. I help small entrepreneurs. But
Okay.
yeah, and throughout all of this, like I've been really heavily traumatized as a child, so psychologically, emotionally. My therapist says that I was supposedly also physically traumatized and abused, although I don't remember. So,
Okay.
but
Okay.
everything adds up with that I was. And yeah, and I had to go through all of this while like still on the outside appearing really successful, and I wasn't am successful, but on the inside, pretty much everything was. I felt that dead inside, and no emotions, nothing like that. So it was hard,
Okay.
and yeah, and all of my energy was just going
Depleted.
away, serving, yeah, depleted and serving everybody else except for me.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and start there then. Let's
Yeah.
go back to childhood
Mhm.
and go ahead and start walking us through your childhood and how did this even start to unfold in the abuse?
Yeah. So here's where the details are definitely spotty because I don't remember a lot of it. So a lot of it
Okay.
is like completely blank. I know that it started like pretty much since I was born. So I know that I was an accident. So it was not planned. So my mom was 19 at the time. My dad, I think, was 6 years older, and it was rocky from the start. Didn't have any money. They were living with uh, my dad's parents
Okay.
and my dad's mom. So my grandma hated my mom. So
Mhm.
we were there for 18 months until we moved. Specifically, my mom and I. My dad didn't want to follow until a few months later.
Okay.
That's what I know. And what I also know, apparently, my dad didn't want to hold me for the first 18 months because he was afraid that he was going to hurt me or something. Uh,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I know. And so one of the reasons why I am also talking about this is because what in my therapeutic process, I've been going to therapy for 3.5 years now. I am
Okay.
in this place where I'm actually going through this trauma and resolving this part of the trauma, the abandonment,
Okay.
felt of despair, and all of that.
Okay.
And so for anybody listening or thinking about it, like I didn't have emotions, or I didn't have any. I couldn't. Not that I didn't have emotions, but I couldn't display them, especially let's say crying and stuff like that. But like
Hmm.
this past week, it was the first time I actually was able to cry by myself
Okay.
without actually drinking alcohol, because the only way I
Okay.
was able to process my grief and stuff was through drinking. And this
Yeah.
week was actually the first time I was actually able to cry by myself without any help. So yeah,
Okay. Well, that's a big step.
it is.
That's a big
It is.
step because alcohol, of course, it just kind of dampens all the receptors. You don't have
Yeah,
anything holding anything back, and it's just like a flood.
exactly.
But it's chemically induced, right?
Yeah,
And so, with that being said, you're not for sure if it's really you processing it, or if it's the alcohol making you process. How much am I going to hold on to?
yeah,
So, with you being able to process this on your own, you knew it was all you, right? It
yeah,
was all
exactly. Yeah.
the things that were coming up within you. So,
Yeah,
was your mother the abuser? Was your father the abuser?
both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah. So they both pretty much, I'm going to say I was the parent of the whole family.
Mm.
because what they were doing, right? My dad, like all of the male people in both sides of the family, were alcoholics,
Okay.
and my mom and dad were fighting constantly. My dad was pretty much retreating into alcoholism,
Hmm.
and my mom, I presume she wanted to connect with him. The only issue was neither of them was able to talk to each other or talk, like normal people, I would say, and
Yeah.
normal being like a really quoted word, right? So they went to me. They were emotionally draining me,
Yeah.
my mom at one point, and then my dad at the other point, right?
So
So
you were the
I was,
mediator.
oh yeah, all the time. So
Yeah.
if anybody knows that you know exactly what situation you're in, like what's happening, like especially also being an empath,
Yeah.
what that is like I knew is before, even before I walked into our apartment, right? Was, oh, something's not good, something's bad. Like all of my five senses were always on display, like always just trying to figure out what's going to happen. Am I going to have a good night or a bad night?
Yeah.
And all of that, right? And when they
Yeah.
came to me, they were emotionally pretty much draining me. They were putting their emotions onto me,
Hmm.
but where I needed their emotions and
Yeah.
their support, right? It was like, hey, I don't have time. We don't have time for this. Let's just go. And they were pretty much just cutting me off. And they were
Yeah. And
both
how
right.
old were you at this time?
Oh, I think that was happening like as soon as I probably could talk. Like, and this is
Okay.
where I don't remember. The only kind of like inklings that I have is that could be starting was like 8, 9, maybe 10 years old, definitely for
Okay.
sure. I
Where
know at
you
that
were
point.
able to really process what was going on.
Yeah,
Mom is talking to me, dad is talking to me.
yeah,
How can I balance out the household? Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
then in addition, right? Because I was so I was always looked upon as a gifted student, a gifted person, right? So my IQ
Mhm.
is also really high, emotionally intelligent,
Mhm.
and I was kind of like they were like, you're going to be the first person to finish college and you're going to make a successful career, right? But
Mhm.
that came with strings attached. So
Yeah.
it's like my dad was saying like, hey, I'm going to drive you to soccer practice, but you really need to be good because I'm sacrificing myself
Mm.
uh, for driving you to the soccer practice. I can go and finish college, which of course was BS, right? But it was like,
Right.
you need to really do that. And then my mom, exactly the same thing. Oh, we're spending so much money for you because you are going to soccer, you're going to that practice, this extracurricular activities. We barely have
Mhm.
food to eat. And then it was all against me. So pretty much they were pushing all of their issues onto me, kind of being a
Yeah.
responsible person. And of course, that as a child, like you don't have any defensive mechanisms for that. And it
Yeah. Were
drains you
you the
out.
only
Yeah.
child?
No, I actually 4 years after I was born, my sister was born as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
she got out of it easily, way easier, right? Because I was the main focus for both of them. She was the one
Okay.
that was kind of how you call it. Um, they were really carrying her with like on goal in a goals bed
She
and
was the
stuff like that,
golden
right?
child.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And and yeah, and that it pretty much continued, right? Like throughout primary school. Then in high school, I actually went on. I was in boarding school, which
Okay.
was almost, I would say, a saving grace because I didn't have that much contact with my family, at least not
Mhm.
how much I had before. And then I went, of course, to West Point, which was kind
Mhm.
of like the switch. I had to go across the ocean to run
Okay.
away from my parents. This is
Yeah.
legitimately what my therapist told me. Like, your abuse was so bad that you needed to run away somewhere completely different, into a different continent.
Yeah.
And at that point, so I already knew I was going to have to go to therapy. I didn't know why.
Okay.
But the first indications were when I actually forgot to speak to my parents for like 6 months. And I
Mm.
honestly didn't know. I thought it was like only 2 weeks. And my
Yeah.
parents were complaining, hey, Blaz, you dididn't talk with us. I was like, I sorry, like I have my
Yeah.
life.
Because you were
Yeah,
on vacation from them, right? I
exactly.
mean,
Yeah,
they had totally infiltrated your life and your mind for all of your life.
yeah,
And so once your mind was able to get that break and just kind of tune them out, and also with that too, it's a disassociation as well,
yeah,
because that's coming out. You're you are the trauma, the abuse was so bad that you had to put it somewhere, right?
Exactly.
And so with
Exactly.
them, it was kind of like out of sight, out of mind. You were out of harm's way. And so your
Yeah.
mind was like, I'm safe, right? I'm not
Exactly.
going to voluntarily put myself with a phone call in danger to these people who have been abusing me,
Yeah. Exactly.
right?
And then also another thing that was really interesting happened, right, was because so I was speaking in English, thinking in English. I pretty much created a different personality. So Blaj
Hmm.
in the US was completely different than Blaj in Slovenia.
No,
And
explain those two to me.
yeah, so the way I was insecure, not confident, right, in Slovenia, I was pretty much a completely dominated person in all aspects of life.
Okay.
In the US, like I had a completely different personality. I was confident, everything that you would want, kind of like of a military officer and a leader.
Okay.
Um, then the issue became when I came back to Slovenia. These two were clashing, and I had so much clashes between. So for people to understand, right, was when I was speaking Slovenian, I was the old me, but when I was
Yeah.
speaking and thinking in English, I was the Blaj me in the USA, and those were
Yeah.
clashing because I had to be Blaj from the US if I wanted to be really good at what I did. But
Right.
those were clashing, and it was tough, like
Yeah.
really tough. And so I am slowly, even now, there are still, of course, differences like that. Both of the, I would say, personalities are not completely merged, but like through trauma, through therapy, I am slowly kind of renegotiating or reabsorbing both of them together. It's
Right.
yes.
Yeah, and that's that part of integration in a
Hmm.
different way.
Yeah.
Uh, as I work with people, doing shadow work with people, right? And that's kind of it's you develop this personality, but this personality was already yours, right? Like
Exactly. Yeah.
innately, you were confident. You were a
Yeah.
person who was destined to succeed and to show up in this space and present your best and, be the Blaj that you were born to
Yeah.
be. And the other part of the personality, which is a part of the shadow, was all the
Yeah.
conditioning of your abuse and you being silenced or you being a people pleaser or you being, the parent pleaser, all the things that being in that environment made
Yeah.
you become, it overshadowed who you really were. And
Yeah.
so when we think about the integration of it, we're thinking what parts of my shadow are supposed to be with me, are really authentically mine, and
Yeah.
what parts am I supposed to compartmentalize because they no longer serve me.
Yeah.
And with that being said, um, we would, as you start to get comfortable with the integration, um, we know that it's all you,
Yeah.
right? We know that it's Blaj. We know that
Yeah.
it's who you are, and
Yeah.
it's hard to come um, into the old experience or into the old environment and be so confident and be the person that you are because they don't know you,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of the times, the the parents that do that are the ones who didn't really make much for themselves, right? It had to be an
Exactly.
excuse, right? It
Yeah.
had to be an excuse as to why, they didn't succeed at X, Y, and Z. And then on top of that, pressure was put on you to be perfect, to be what have you,
Hmm.
but they still needed to put you in a box where they could digest you easily.
Yep.
And that's in essence what they did to you, right? And
Yep.
so it hindered you, it hurt you,
Hmm.
but it was all for the sake of their benefit, and that's
Hmm.
the unfortunate part of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because specifically, they are like, yeah, they were living through me. Specifically, my dad in this case, because
Mhm.
he was good at soccer, but he was a failed soccer player because,
Mhm.
as far as I was told, right, was because his family didn't allow him to leave to go to actually play in. At that point, it was still Yugoslavia. It was like the
Okay.
first Yugoslavian league. So for people that kind of know soccer, it was like Partizan or the Red Star, which are still like the top um, teams in Serbia at the moment.
Hmm.
But he wasn't allowed to leave from
Okay.
Ljubljana, and then he got into drinking and all of that. And when I became a soccer player as well, I was on the national Slovenian youth national team from when I was
Okay.
14 to 18. He put all of his hopes into onto me, and he was living his life through me. He wanted me to become
Well,
a star, to go somewhere, because he couldn't do that.
yeah. Yeah. And with that, so we come to this part where, okay, you are playing soccer, you finally have your escape route, going to college, going into the military, and now you are starting to develop relationships with others.
Mhm.
What did that start to look like for you as that unfolded?
Yeah, so it was really strange, especially like the first actual true relationships that I can remember and I still have are from the people that I met at West Point,
Okay.
right? Um, because the issue with that one was because I was so abused. Like I was really adaptive to any and all um, people, and if I saw that I needed to be hanging out with them or this specific type of group, I conformed and I adapted my personality and what I did, what I said, to so that I would be able to be incorporated into the group.
Yeah.
And at that time, I didn't understand that. But when through therapy, I understood that I actually was hanging out with three different groups at any
Oh,
given
wow.
time, right?
Yeah.
And all of them would never have been talking or hang out with each other because they were so different. But I was able to get into those groups, whether
Mhm.
through soccer, through my roommates, or through activities because I was a history major. Like some of us were, of course, hanging out together.
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh, but my personalities were just completely different, and I was able to be either a joker, the biggest sarcastic joker ever, not being serious, towards
Mhm.
being the person that you could just talk about philosophy, history, like without us cracking a joke for hours on end, right?
Mhm.
And then for the second one, for the third one, I was kind of like a mixture of both, I would say, something like that.
Yeah.
And that was like, for me, it was really strange, but it was normal.
Yeah.
And only so last year I really started. So 2025, I started really to realizing that, since I named last year the year of who am I,
Okay.
actually am I? Because what happened to me at that point, I just almost shut down completely, and the only person I was talking to was my therapist and my girlfriend,
Mhm.
who were living together, and just trying to understand like which parts of my personality, which parts of who I am are just made up because of my trauma, and which
Yeah.
ones are actually mine. And
Yeah.
then slowly the real me started to come come out,
Yeah.
right? So yeah. And then this year,
Yeah.
if we're talking about what am I doing, is like this year I'm building my foundations. So for the
Mhm.
people who I'm hanging out, people who I want to be involved with, and of course for my business, which I started at the beginning of this year.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Blaj, when you mentioned that you have a girlfriend and you guys
Yeah.
live together, what is that dynamic like? I mean, because you just kind of come into starting to know yourself,
Hmm.
um, or to identify yourself, right? So,
Yeah.
how does that work? Which
Um,
Blaj showed up to be in a relationship with her?
well, both, because we both were heavily traumatized, and that's how
Okay.
we kind of, even without knowing, we connected, right?
Yeah.
So we were both going to therapy, to the same therapist,
Okay.
and we're both growing, right? And
Okay.
as you may imagine, the funny part about this is that our defensive mechanisms are 100%, 180 degrees opposite,
Yeah.
right? So, and you can see that our triggers, our traumas that are playing out, we are triggering each other.
Hmm.
Sometimes, I mean, most of the times, when I'm triggered, she's triggered, and when she's triggered, then I'm triggered, right?
Yeah.
And we're resolving those and pretty much growing together. So both of us have changed. Both of us are just advancing and progressing through resolving our trauma, pretty much. And it's always a dynamic, right? Sometimes one of us is processing more than the other one is.
Mhm.
sometimes, like I said, and at this moment, when we're recording this, we're both processing our,
Yeah.
really heavy trauma. So me, the abandonment of my mom, how I felt when I was, when my mom was just berating me without any, legitimately any exit ramp, and my
Yeah.
girlfriend is processing her dad specifically and her brother, right? So it's kind of like it's always a dynamic. It's never, I'm gonna say it's never boring
Yeah.
when we're together. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you find that and some would and I would call that too. However, it may end up a little bit differently. Um, but you do you consider that a trauma bond?
Mm, huh. Probably at the beginning,
Hmm.
possibly, because it's just, like, who this person is. It's like we bonded like really really fast. It was so
Yeah.
easy and so effortless.
Yeah.
Um, but in the long run, it doesn't really matter, because so we've been together for 6.5 years now.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
yeah, so we've
That's
both,
good.
yeah, we both have grown with this. And one
Yeah.
thing that we do understand is that we both need to go to therapy, because
Hmm.
even not going to therapy would probably wrecked our relationship in any case, because of so
Yeah.
many triggers we both have. But even if only one went, then the difference between the developments of one and another would have been so much different that we wouldn't be able to live together. Now,
Yeah.
because of this work that we're doing on ourselves, is actually enabling us so both to live a way better life than we did even a year ago,
Yeah.
and we're both looking forward to where we're going.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much made our bond like um, even stronger, especially
Hmm.
because we've been able to process the trauma. We know we've stuck by each other's side, and
Hmm.
we always know, even if we're triggered and we may be yelling at each other, which does happen, we know that deep inside we still love each other and still are that amazing person that we kind of have gotten together because of, even though that
Yeah.
defensive mechanisms that we have are currently just spewing out, because this is who we were in the past, who we were as children. And as we know, our defensive mechanisms um, that we've developed in our brain don't understand the passage of time. They're there and they're always
Right.
active. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Your brain doesn't know what is past and what's past, what's current. It doesn't know what's real and what's not real, what's a threat and what's
Yeah.
not a threat. It
Yeah.
doesn't have that sort of system in it. And so I'm glad that this really is working out for you guys, right?
Yeah.
Because you guys can be the epitome of overcoming, so to
Yeah.
speak, because you guys know what it feels like to be in trauma, so entrenched in trauma, and going through the experience of the healing process at the same time, understanding each other and
Yeah.
learning. Really, you guys are learning the true identity of each other together,
Yep. Exactly.
right? So, in essence, you are truly getting to love the true you, the true her,
Yeah.
because all of the fluff is starting to be,
Yeah.
undone, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so I think that I really hope that this just turns out to be just the most beautiful relationship that both of you guys
So
have
do we.
ever
Thank you.
experienced, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
Um, so let's see. So Blaz, you we talked about the triggering with you
Yeah.
guys, and are you or your well, we'll just talk about you. Are you afraid of becoming the abuser or the victim of being abused because you and your girlfriend both share this nature?
Actually, no. And
Okay.
the reason behind this is that, um, just the way I understand how we're both, what traumas we have, and the way that we're triggering each other, right? So you could say, okay, oh, because let's say I'm triggering things in my girlfriend, what the abuse she went through, and I am at times also speaking like her dad, the way her dad did, or she is doing the exact same thing, like with my mom, with my sister, and all of that. You could say then, oh yeah, she's abusing me, but I view it as a little bit differently. It's like she is helping me understand what my trauma was, what my triggers were, so that they go into the surface and that I can actually repair those triggers and those defensive mechanisms through thinking, through therapy, so that they, if they happen and when they happen again, that either they're not as severe and they don't cause that kind of like an emotional eruption out of me,
Hmm.
or in time they're just going to be there. I'm going to know that, I may have gotten a trigger, but that's going to be it. It's just going to be a small tremble in
Yeah.
otherwise just a normal conversation or action or what we've done. So yeah,
Yeah. The
so I don't
severity
do
is
that.
not
Yeah,
the same.
yeah,
Hmm.
exactly.
Yeah. And with that, also, I think that as you guys are doing this, during this healing together, you're going to notice that the triggering isn't intentional, right? Because
Exactly.
it takes that conscious awareness to say, this is not my mom, this is
Yeah.
not my dad, this is not what he's saying to me. What he's saying to me is this. And so a lot of the times, as I'm working with my clients and they have these knee-jerk reactions,
Hmm.
to the triggers, it's like, okay, I want you to step back objectively and I want you to ask yourself, who's talking to you in your ear? Are you
Yeah.
hearing mom? Are you hearing dad? Right? What are you hearing to make you react in this way?
Yeah.
And what I hear you saying is that you guys are learning how to respond instead of react.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard. Sometimes we just can't
Yeah.
because it's too hard. But
And you're in the
it,
moment.
yeah, exactly. But
Hmm.
then, we had like one of our, I would say, almost biggest fights in the past week.
Hmm.
Like it was hard. It was, of course, taxing. But then
Yeah.
later on, the day after, it's a little bit easier, especially then when we went to therapy, both of us. We go on therapy the same day, pretty much.
Okay.
And then it's easier to process and to talk. Hey, why did this happen? What was even the reasoning? What was the reasoning behind your situation, behind my situation? We can just talk back and forth to
Yeah.
understand each other. And also, of course,
Yeah.
to mourn and grieve because we don't want to hurt each other ever. But unintentionally, you do because, like, as you said, you don't see. So my girlfriend at times doesn't see Blaz, or I don't see my girlfriend as
Mhm.
my girlfriend. I see my mom, my dad, my whoever,
Right.
right? And uh, that's when you really have to understand that this person, or believe that this person isn't intentionally hurting you. They are just doing that because of their reaction to your trigger or their trigger. But in the end, they are also, so this is what I think, like they're also helping, she's also helping me so that I can
Mhm.
overcome this trigger eventually and this trauma. So I can live a better
Yeah.
life and have more energy in the end.
Yeah. And just bringing awareness to it. Again, a lot of it
Yeah,
is all about awareness because
exactly.
if you have awareness to it, then it kind of fizzles out over time. It's not
Yeah.
as intense. It's not as, and you'll realize that sometimes some of those triggers or some of those things aren't things at all, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
and some of those things are learnt experiences that have absolutely nothing to do with you. So
Yeah.
as you're coming into yourself, it's like those compartments of, does this even belong to me? Like,
Yeah.
this is not even something that's authentically mine or innately
Yeah.
mine. So I get to take this out of me. I get to say my piece to it, and then I get to set it aside
Yeah.
so that it no longer continues to follow me, right?
Exactly.
Um, yeah. So I'm glad that you guys are really doing therapy together.
Thank you.
That's a good thing. Um, so I know that you're in therapy. Are there
Mhm.
any other ways that you are coping or any other avenues that you're taking to make sure that you change the trajectory of your future?
So besides therapy, I do think a lot about it, right? Because like about who am I? This is almost like I was going to say almost like my full time job, because
Hmm.
every single person that asks me, why do you go to therapy, or therapy isn't worth it, like you've probably heard about like 1,000
Yeah.
excuses why people don't go to therapy.
Hmm.
It's like, yes, because if you only are thinking about yourself and your traumas for 60 minutes a week, that's not enough. That's
Yeah.
nowhere near enough. Like I think about it every day. What happened yesterday? So this week specifically, and probably for the next 2 or 3 weeks after this, I'm going to be thinking, how was my life when I was a kid, when I didn't have an avenue of exit to go anywhere, and my mom
Mhm.
was berating me that what I was doing was bad, what it was that my decisions are stupid, yada yada yada, or when
Mhm.
she was complaining about some effect in my in her life that I had to go through, not my dad, which who
Right.
she should have been there. And then when I wanted to say something back, she was like, "I did. Oh, you don't understand. You're too young. You don't know what decisions to make." Or, "Hey, we don't have time for you. I'm just gonna leave." Right. And when
Yeah.
it made me feel like completely empty inside.
Mhm.
And this is the thing that I'm going to be processing, thinking about all the time, like how I felt. And finally, the grief specifically that I had, because,
Mhm.
I told you before that it was the first time this week that I was actually able to cry. And with
Yeah.
that, with me crying also is the first time of grief and mourning. And I can
Mhm.
mourn for who I was in the past,
Okay.
right? And this means that today, tomorrow, every day, I'm going to be thinking about this at least an hour or two. It depends on how my brain wants to think, right? If it wants to at that
Right.
point, but I let it go, and I will make sure that I don't have any interruptions. If I just feel really sad, I will
Yeah.
let it process throughout my whole body, even though it feels horrible and it feels really like yucky because
Yeah.
I don't want to feel bad. But that's who I felt. That's what I felt when I was a kid,
Yeah.
and I need to process it, and I need to, protect my little Blaz who was there,
Mhm.
who didn't have this opportunity to be as strong and as free that I can be now. And so this is the one thing that I'm doing, and then of course talking with my girlfriend, and now specifically in these past 3 months, I had so many great conversations with people, one-on-one networking and all of that, who are
Mhm.
actually uh, bringing up my energy. They're giving me energy. Whereas even a year ago, or actually, I'm going to say 6 months ago, like we would never have this conversation
Yeah.
because I wasn't ready to start, first sharing my journey, and I wasn't even ready to just talk one on one because
Mhm.
I was in a completely different space. My energy was getting sucked out of me.
Yeah.
So yeah, constantly
Yeah.
trying new things and seeing what works, and then improving on myself.
Yeah. And it sounds like you learned how to build boundaries, right?
Yes.
How much of my energy do I give out? How
Yeah.
much do I take in? And am I taking in the correct energy, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Who's that discernment, who's around me, because you're always going to be kind of hyper vigilant, not hyper focused necessary, but hyper vigilant on
Yeah.
people taking energy from you.
Yeah.
How are they showing up in your space?
Yeah.
And you're going to protect that space, because I love also how you mentioned that you're protecting the little Blaj as well, right? And
Yeah.
no one gets to infiltrate that space anymore and take advantage of us, right?
Mhm.
And so um, it's when you open up the heart space, and when you open up the ability to be vulnerable because you feel safe within you, not necessarily safe on the outside, but you trust you to
Yeah.
tell your story and to be able to bring you back and to balance yourself out. When you
Yeah.
do that, that's when true healing really starts.
Yeah. It does.
And it sounds like that's where you are.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like I love what you said about boundaries, like because I actually forgot
Mhm.
about this, but like yes, I am building boundaries. So all of my colleagues from the past, specifically from Slovenia or friends, I don't even talk to anybody. I don't talk to my parents at all unless
Yeah.
it is critically necessary due to just some laws that we still have in Slovenia that I need to have my permanent address where they live still. That's
Hmm.
just a quirk. Um, but other than that, like I don't want to talk to them because they are not welcome into my life until they acknowledge who I am. That they
Yeah.
don't have access to me 24/7. They actually need to work on it so that I allow them access. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I don't allow them access to my energy, which was what they had before. They were just draining my energy all the time, and now they couldn't. Right?
Yeah.
And
Because you've taken control.
yeah,
Right? Now
yeah,
you understand that your energy was yours, but is
yeah.
yours. But when you were a child, you didn't. You
Nope.
you were just a free for all, just kind of sitting there absorbing everything and giving it out, and it was a whole chaotic mess for you.
Yeah.
So I know that this next question is going to be a little premature even. But I want to know, what does forgiveness look like for you?
Yeah. The complete honest answer, I have no idea.
Okay, that's fair,
Uh,
and
yeah.
that's valid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you ask me this, right, the first uh, thought that comes into is my parents.
Hmm.
Uh, and kind of like the end thought is, would I be willing to or able to forgive them?
Yeah.
Right. I know that when you go through therapy, I understand that a lot of people in the end come to forgive their parents or forgive what they did to them, and the reasoning. I know I'm not there yet for sure.
Yeah.
Um, the one thing that I do understand is that they did probably what they thought was best at that time for me. In essence, what was best for them, they didn't understand that. But forgiveness for me still isn't part of the equation at the moment, because I just don't
Yeah.
know what would I be able to forgive or how.
Yeah. And also the people who were around, were there, I mean, you had grandparents, and
Yeah.
so I'm assuming that there were other people around that knew what they were doing. Did they know what was going on in the home, or was it just kind of
So this is the question that I think that all of my grandparents were my parents were raising me the way that their grandparents did, because like
okay?
as far as I understand it, they were saying like, this is the best I know. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, the best you know isn't good enough. You should have been
Mhm.
educating yourself. You should have wanted better out of yourself and out of me, right? But it was way too easy to
Yeah.
be just in that zone of comfort where they were, and they just pushed everything out onto me. And when it came to other, either having friends and stuff, like I honestly didn't have almost any,
Mm.
because I was first too exhausted. I didn't understand what friendship was, what colleagues were, because I was doing stuff from morning till afternoon with school. Then I went to
Mhm.
soccer practice. Then I went to English classes or another track training practice. Got back home 8 p.m., 9 p.m., did a little bit of homework, and then it was all over again, right? And Saturdays and
Mhm.
Sundays were meant for soccer games or just having a little bit of time for myself, because I was way too tired and stuff. And so
Yeah.
I didn't ever understand or even understood, how people around me were processing their feelings. And one of the questions that I always had was, why are they happy? Like, why can they be laughing? Why are they so unserious? Because I was
Mhm.
always considered the most serious and the most, what's the word? Like, I was really grown up for my age, is I think what
Mhm.
it says, right? And I thought that was an amazing thing that people told me. Oh, Blaz, you're so grown
Yeah.
up. In reality, that's one of the worst things that anybody can say to you, because usually it means that you had to grow up fast for a reason. And for me, that
Yeah.
was abuse and trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. For yourself, in that dialogue that you're giving yourself, what are you telling yourself when you wake up in the morning and you have to give yourself that pep talk to say, I matter, I'm getting up for a reason, I'm here for a reason? What's the dialogue in your head about you?
In the mornings, it's gonna vary for sure. Like some of them, I just get up, and it's not a big deal. It's like, new day, perfect, let's go.
Okay.
Uh, some of the times it's like, oh shit, it's a new day. I should wake up. I don't want to wake up. Okay, let's relax. It's possibly going to be one of the, I would say, worst days, because it's not that nice outside, and I have specific issues when the weather is cloudy, a little bit of
Okay.
rain, and it's moist outside.
Okay.
For some reason, I have that, and I know it's part of a trauma, but I can't identify it yet, because probably
Okay.
this is where the most of the things happened. I would say November, December, October timeframe
Okay.
are when I have my worst days, like in succession.
Yeah.
And at those points are, now that I pretty much work with mostly with US based clients, it's a little bit easier, because most of the time I don't need to wake up on an alarm clock. I can always say like, hey, I'm gonna just sleep in a little bit. But
Hmm.
most of the time I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna read a little bit, so um, I feel productive, or that
Okay.
I've actually done something for myself. And then after 30 minutes, 45 minutes of reading, I'm gonna like, look, Blash, now we need to wake up. Now we need to
Okay.
get up, because it's already 9 a.m., 10 a.m., or something like
Yeah.
that, sometimes even 11 a.m. And we don't want to waste our day just because we may feel that something is not good, something bad is going to happen. Well, we know we're
Mhm.
safe. We're safe in this
Yeah.
house, in this apartment, and we know nothing bad is going to happen. So let's go and let's try and get the most out of this day. And even if that most is, hey, let's just sit down, listen to some music, watch YouTube, Netflix, it doesn't matter. But kind of like just take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And
And that's what I
yeah,
hear you saying when you said like you're doing some reading and things of that nature.
yeah,
That's a part of that self-care. So whether if it's meditation, whether if it's a walk, whether if it's
yeah,
just, going outside and just sitting in it, and
yeah,
just and taking in the air, taking in the surroundings and saying it's
yeah,
not your fault surroundings, right? It's not your
exactly.
fault rain, it's not your
Yeah,
fault clouds. I am safe right now,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
And even talking to it in a way of like I appreciate you,
yeah,
thank you, because then you shift the trajectory of the thought processing where
yeah.
it no longer holds you captive. You
Hmm.
understand that you're a part of the elements and that you are
Exactly.
always supposed to be a part of the elements,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And
So yeah.
one thing that I would add that I've done that's really helped me was, so I have my therapy on Thursdays,
Hmm.
Thursday mornings, and that day is like, I legitimately have named it my health day, like healthcare day, mental health day.
Hmm.
And what I do is, since my therapy is at 9 a.m. until 10 a.m. in the morning, the rest of the day is free flowing, whatever my brain wants,
Yeah.
whatever my body feels like it wants to do. So because we have to commute to our therapist's office in the capital, both of us
Hmm.
go there. So my girlfriend also works from her office at that day, and I just either work from a cafe or something, or at times I just go on a 2-3 hour walk. No
Yeah.
pressure, no nothing. I don't have any meetings set up there. My calendar is completely blocked. And if I want to work, I'm going to work. If I don't want to work, I'm just going to do something else. If I want to film a
Yeah.
video, it doesn't matter. Whatever my body wants me to do. And
Yeah.
the results of this is actually, me looking forward to those days, and also
Mhm.
knowing I have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday when I work, and then Thursday is me day, and then I only have Friday, like today,
Yeah.
and then it's the weekend, and I can do whatever I want again. So
Yeah.
this has helped me a lot as well.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's all about self-care and learning how to put
Yeah,
you first,
yeah,
recognizing and respecting even that you matter
yeah,
because you had to tell you that you matter
exactly.
first because no one else was telling you that,
Yeah,
right?
exactly,
I love that
exactly.
for you, Blash. I love
Thank you.
it. I want to ask you one more
Hmm.
question, or actually, this is the second to the last question. Um, if I were to ask you today, what would you tell that little boy Blaj right now? As you being who you are right now, what would you tell him?
That everything is gonna be okay. Uh, be yourself and stand up for yourself way more than you did.
Yeah,
And as soon as you have the time and money, go start going to therapy, because it's gonna help you way more and way sooner than what I did.
yeah. Are you able to tell that little boy Blaj that you love him?
Oh yeah, we
Yeah,
talk.
you talk.
We talk.
You
Yeah.
have that. You have that bro time.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
actually, so one of the funniest things is that I have two of my Blages now, right? So
Okay.
I have the little one and the little bit older one. So I
Okay.
can, and one of the breakthroughs that I had was that I can see both of them at the same time, pretty much,
Mhm.
and I can
Yeah.
talk with them whenever
Yeah.
I'm ready and whenever they're ready as well.
Yeah. I love that. And that's I we can't get all the way into it, but that is a sense of balance.
Yeah,
That's a sense of balance because um yeah, I won't go on my rabbit trail with that, but I love that for you.
yeah.
That's
Thank you.
balance. If
Yeah.
I asked you today, who are you? Who are you, Blaj?
Wow, that's an awesome question. Um, I am a an amazing person who has his own boundaries and knows what I want from my life. I want peace and quiet from my life, and what I do to support me in my endeavors. And lastly, I want to help as many people as I can that have been going through this ordeal that is mental health and trauma and abuse.
Yeah, awesome, Blaj. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. So Blaj's information in his bio, a little bit more about him, will be under his podcast, in his bio, under his podcast. And I'm looking forward, Blaj, maybe like in a year, to see where you are and interview you again and
I'd love to.
see what your progress has been. I would love it.
Same here. Yeah,
Um,
it would be amazing.
yes, thank you for coming in and just sharing your story with
Thank
us
you.
and being vulnerable and feeling safe to do so because I do
Thank you.
honor your space and I honor your story as well. And I'm glad that you are showing up for yourself and that you are who you are and that you're loving yourself and that through all of what you've been through that I've had the opportunity to meet you and speak to you. Okay?
Yeah. Thank you for having me on the show that I can also spread the message to others so that they're not alone.
Yes. Awesome. Well, everyone else, thank you for coming into the shadow box and sharing this time with us and hearing Blaj's story.